Okay. So I've been doing a 7-day fruit and veggie fast, raw food fast, right? And I'm doing it, of course, for spiritual purposes, like I always do things. But part of why I want to do it is because I wanted to connect with my hunger. It has gotten to the point where I literally do not know what it feels like in my body anymore to feel hungry, to know when it's time to eat. Partly because I am always on the go, where I may just say, oh, I haven't eaten since this time, I'm going to eat. Or, everybody else is eating because I made food, so I eat. Or I don't want to eat past this time, so I'm going to eat now. Like I kind of like on a schedule with how I eat, I guess. But it's to the point where I do not recognize when I'm hungry. I do not know my own hunger cues. So in order to reconnect with myself, reconnect with my body, reconnect with even the feeling of hunger, right? I'm doing this. And what I've noticed is that I think I assumed I would feel the hunger in my stomach. I would hear growling or something like that. Um, but I don't. And the reason why I feel like the fruit and veggie fast helps me to connect to my hunger is because I'm naturally, when I eat like that, I'm really strategic about what I eat and how I eat, and food isn't just readily available to me if I don't remember to pack it, right? If I'm on the go, I have to have certain things packed or I just don't have anything. So I'm naturally eating less, so I should be able to connect to my hunger more. Not saying that fruits and veggies don't leave you satiated, but saying that um, I should definitely be able to kick into what hunger feels like at some point during my busy day, right? But what I'm noticing about myself is the way that I sense hunger is from getting a slight headache. Getting a slight headache is how I know that I am getting hungry. That's like my first cue that it's about to be time for me to eat. So I'm really, really happy so far with the fact that after, let me see, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 5 days. After 5 days, this is day number 5, that I finally tuned in to what it feels like to be hungry. I'm your host, friend, and life coach, Mrs.Divine, and I bridge the gap between intuition and intelligence. So, as I'm making my lessons for my tutoring that I do, it dawns on me that the reason why we're getting taught things like nouns, verbs, adverbs, adjectives, things like that, why we have to break down the sentence, isn't just so that you learn how to talk in the English language. It's also used because each part of a sentence holds a certain frequency. And the way these frequencies move is different depending on what it is. For example, a metaphor is one of the strongest frequencies when it comes to the English language. And if you understand metaphors, how to write it, when you see it, and you understand certain concepts of spirituality, or you understand you to a certain level, you can experience why a metaphor is a really strong force of a frequency compared to an adjective. Adjective is still, strong in its own sense, but it's a difference. And so, studying sentence structure and speaking properly, or proper English, does two things, right? It limits you in a way, and it molds your thinking structure and molds your frequency. It's all the same, in a certain way, where you kind of become predictable, right? So if you start saying a certain thing, a certain phrase, whatever, it holds a certain frequency. If this is what you normally do, like I speak proper English, I am going to hit every period when I speak, or whatever. It makes you more you're clearly seen as being more intelligent than other people, more educated, okay? And
You also are kind of predictable again in what you're even gonna say, right? So like if you like to use big words, we know something's coming, and you might even have a habit about yourself, like you use big words when you're talking about, I don't know, describing an animal or something like that, right? So everything has its own frequency, and even the punctuations hold you to a certain limit, right? A period stops you, stops the energy of whatever it was you just said. So if you do a subject and predicate, if you do a subject and predicate, like the most basic sentence, it's faster type of energy, gets the message out there quicker, gets the frequency out there quicker. And then if you add that period at the end, it stops it, right? As you learn more and more of the English language, and they're molding you on how to use it, there's other types of punctuations, whether it be the comma, semicolon, colon, quotation marks, things like that. All these are indicators to the level of energy that these words hold. So when people like me are saying things like words matter, and I'm like, hey, you're saying this, and I just want you to understand what frequency you're putting out there in the air, right? That's because that's the way I pay attention to things. And energy shows up in all different types of ways. It shows up in numbers, it shows up in words, it shows up in feelings, emotions, all different types of things. Hormones, right? So in order to align with what it is that you want, or in order to align with that you want to align with, right? Or that you're aligning with, like your best vision of what you're aligning with, or what you could potentially align with. You must speak words that are in that alignment, okay? Because you can align with it and it not be exactly what you wanted or what you thought it was going to be. And that is always, again, on us. And so a big part of that is, it could be what else you're doing, who you're around, things like that, but a big part of that is what you speak, because your words are everything, right? Divine speech is a real thing. You want to say the things that you mean to say, because the things you say literally manifest like magic, right? You're a magnificent manifester. That's why everybody wants to learn law of attraction and things like that, because you realize, you do it. But it is a whole different ball game when you're really paying attention to these things, because then you see how to manifest in real thought, right? How to manifest in real thought, because you're that much tuned into thinking and speaking the words that you are manifesting. So remember to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Like this video, and take my new workshop on divine speech, where I teach you how to align with your alignment that you see as your greatest potential. Sometimes the very things that you wish for are what's causing you misery or problems right now. Okay? So we're at a time right now where we are manifesting almost instantly. Whether or not you are able to see that depends on your level of introspection and your perception of things, right? A lot of times we cannot see what we are manifesting because it doesn't come in a way that we expect it to come, okay? So if we wish for a raise, right, we expect it to come by, your manager or whoever is in charge saying, hey, we noticed your work is, your effort is amazing, and we're going to go ahead and give you a promotion. But it may not come in that way, right? It may come in the way that someone there retires or leaves for one reason or another, and now you're being asked to do their assignments, and you're doing your work and their assignments, and it's stressful to you right now at the time, but After a month or so, they say, hey, you've actually been doing a good job at, or a great job at what you've been doing. We're going to go ahead and promote you to that position if you want. And that position right there is your raise, right? So the way things are manifesting might not be coming in the way that you expected it to. And it may seem like you're under a lot of stress, or that there's a lot of problems and that there's no remedy or a solution for it. I'm here today to remind you that there is a solution for it. There is a solution for everything that you are going through. Sometimes it's about making that hard decision and sticking to it. Sometimes it's simply about tweaking a part of your life or changing the way you're perceiving it, right? And sometimes, all the time to me, it's about doing that inner work spiritually and really tuning into yourself and having more understanding that you are the reason for it all. Everything you're seeing around you, right? It's detecting my face right now. So you are the reason for it all. Sometimes the problem can simply be that you're manifesting more than one thing right now, more than one thing at once, and you're teeter-tottering between what it is you really want. You don't know what you want, right? So let's say that you want that promotion, but you also want time off for yourself, right? You want more vacation days. Sometimes the way that you're looking at things and the state of confusion being in the middle can make your situation more stressful, because you can't find a solution. If you don't know what you want, you can't find a solution. If they're stressing you out at work and it's the work environment, there is something you can do about it, because you can never really control everything that happens around you, but you can always control you, right? You can always control the level of stress that's within you. But maybe it was here that you were saying you didn't want that job anymore. Actually, you want to quit and you want to do something completely new. You don't want to be a doctor anymore. Now you just want to go be a teacher and teach science at the local public school. What is it that you want to do? Once you get clear on what it is that you actually want, you can't blame anyone or anything outside of you for why you're stressed or why you have any issues or problems. Matter of fact, it's sometimes that your issue or problem can disappear because you have now claimed that position of authority, right? Where you can't point the finger at anyone. You have that accountability, knowing that it's me and the choices that I'm making. So for some of us, it is right now that you need to understand clearly what it is you are asking for and let go of your expectations of what that is going to look like when it finally does come into your life. Understand that everything that is to unfold after you are clear on what it is that you want is because it's happening in a way for you to get that thing that you want, which is why I always say ask for things perfectly, right? Because sometimes we do our best to ask for things in a way or state what we want or give our affirmations in a way that is so perfect, but we don't even realize the definition or the true history or etymology behind the words that you're using when you're asking for it. So you could be damning yourself for the most part, or damning what it is that you're asking for simply because you used a word ignorantly. So be sure on what it is that you want and ask for it perfectly. Once you do that, and do that in any way that you want. If you want to pray to God and do that, still talk to God and let him know he knows your heart, right? He knows your heart, so he knows exactly what you're asking for when you ask it. If you're not praying to God, if you are manifesting in the way that you manifest spiritually, then do that and ask it for it to happen perfectly, okay? Just saying that right there is going to let you know that whatever is to unfold after you ask what you ask for, you have better trust it, you have better have faith in it, and walk in faith that it's happening for you. It's happening for everything that you've been asking for. Once you are certain on what it is that you want, you can walk in confidence. So I had a splinter today, right? And it actually is what prompted me to do this video. I got a splinter, and this is like the second time. I think last month I got a splinter. This month I got a splinter. And I'm just sitting here using whatever tools are around me to get the splinter out. And I'm like, here I go again, getting another splinter. And by the time I get it out, I realize how little this little sliver of wood is. It's so tiny, but it's causing so much pain to me, right? So much pain where I have to sit down right now and do a minor surgery to myself, right? Just so I can have some sense of relief, right? And after I got it out and I was looking at it, I'm like, now I feel no pain. Even though I did a minor surgery, there is no pain there, considering the fact of how painful it was when I just had that little piece of wood in my finger. So that goes to show us that sometimes a thing that is causing so much stress, so much pain, is a very tiny, minute factor when you consider the big picture. So sometimes it takes for you to change one little small thing. Whether it is that, oh, you're so stressed at work and now you just need to meditate more. You meditate more, you're going to be able to see things in different perspective and know how to calm your inner self and take breaks and stuff when you need to. Even if you're standing in front of somebody, they have no idea that you're really not right here right now. You're really inside, working on yourself, doing your deep breathing and maintaining your inner environment so that your outer environment can reflect that, okay? That's a simple fix. And that's just one of the solutions I'm putting out there. It could be the fact that you need to move, right? It could be the fact that you just need to go ahead and put forth that effort into looking for that other place you want to go to. Could be that you need a vacation. It could be lots of things, but I'm saying that sometimes things seem so chaotic and out of whack, and it takes one small change for you to fix everything. And so I'm thinking about this splinter and thinking also, how come I keep getting this, right? And that's like with a lot of lessons in life. How come I keep walking into these same situations? How come the same thing keeps happening to me even when I'm making changes? And it's like when you tell a child, hey, make sure when you take out the dog, you put the leash on him so he doesn't run out of the yard, okay? And then what they want to say is, I know, they want to tell you real quick, they know, or cut you off. But then you turn around and look and here they are again, letting the dog out without a leash on, right? And so everybody wants to keep saying, I know that already. But if you're getting the same lessons, because there's still something you have yet to learn. Once you say, I know something, you literally close off your crown chakra to the point where you're not able to receive the information that is trying to be conveyed to you. If you know something already and you keep getting the same lessons, first of all, you can overcome this lesson, right? You can rise to the occasion to defeat whatever problem it is that you're facing because you've done it before. But you're back at this level, you're back in the same situation because there is something you need to learn and something you need to start applying to your life right now. So what it is about my splinter, I got to figure that out. But that's what happens, right? So if you find yourself in the same situation, ask yourself, instead of saying, I've done this before, here I go again doing this, why am I here? Why am I right back in the same situation? What made this happen again? What am I supposed to learn from that? Ask yourself those questions instead of trying to sum it all up in your head like you know everything, and be open to receive the answers that were coming to you, in my opinion, in such a graceful way. Because for you to repeat something again, that's literally saying, okay, start all over, start again. And you're not lost at what's happening. You kind of know how to navigate better because you've been here and you've done that. As opposed to not learning a lesson and being taught in a harsher, more dramatic way where you don't even recognize that this is the same lesson being taught. It seems like, hey, we could have did this in a kinder way, right? So another thing, right? Today I was driving and I had a slam on my brakes because a lady was running through the street to grab this bike that was like thrown in the middle. She was running the street, she was throwing a shoe. And she was throwing a shoe at this like boy. He was African-American boy and he was probably like 10 or 11, right? And she was like, and I'm going to call the police on you too, you little punk. And the boy was like running away. And he kind of looked like he was bothered. I don't know if he was bothered that he got caught, but he was bothered. And I had asked the lady like what was going on. And she said that he tried to steal her bike, her kid's bike. He went through her backyard, and the backyard gate was clearly open. There were other bikes there, and he had tried to steal the bike, and she caught him and had to basically chase him down and throw a shoe at him before he got off and took off running, right? And so she called him a little punk. I'm going to call the police, you little punk. And in my head, for some reason, I just kept replaying that part. I'm going to call the police, you little punk. I just kept saying it out loud. And it just kept going through my head. And then I realized, like, that's first of all, I gotta look up the etymology of punk, or see what that actually means to me, because that word is what's standing out of all of them. But you would think of someone like that, a little kid who's walking around going in people's gates stealing bikes, as a little punk, right? But then you gotta think, first of all, it takes a community to raise a child. The community nowadays no one in the community really is someone who you're trusting to even be around your child, to speak to your child, because people, you know, it honestly can't be trusted all the time, like who's around you and who's in your neighborhood, right? So, but we automatically assume that someone who is doing something such as stealing a bike is a little punk, right? And a situation like that will make you kind of feel indifferent and cold-hearted to the situation. Like, yeah, call the police on him. He deserves it. But we don't know what that little boy was going through. Not saying that whatever he was going through makes it right for him to jump in someone's yard and take their stuff. But it is saying that we don't know why he needed that bike. Why he couldn't just walk wherever he was going like he was in the first place. Why did he feel like he needed to go in somebody's yard and steal a bike? What was he going through? Where were his parents? Like I said, he wasn't no teenager out there on a walk just, because he's grown. Where were his parents? We don't know that. We don't know if that little boy ate. We don't know if he had money. We don't know if there was someone he needed to be quickly. We don't know what was going on. So, I challenge you, like I challenge myself all the time. When you're going through something stressful, especially something out the blue, right? Like that lady with the boy jumping in her backyard to steal a bike. I challenge you to rise to the occasion of thinking at a higher level perspective than what you're used to. Even if it's just, what if this, okay? What if he needed to hurry up and get to the store because his little baby brother needed some milk. He had the money for it, and his baby brother didn't have anything to eat all day because his parents didn't come home, right? So he's trying to hurry up and get to the store, and he knew a bike would be faster. What if that was the case? I mean, yeah, still he shouldn't have done that, but it makes it that much better, right? You realize you weren't just victimized, and you realize that it could be a whole nother factor that's bigger than you that you can't pinpoint right now because things aren't happening in the way that you expect it to happen. And the way we originally perceive things, sometimes because of the level of tension, stress, our attitudes, the environment, or just the dynamic of the situation, can make us focus narrow-mindedness in one perspective when there's actually something bigger and better that's happening, and we just aren't privy to see it until you calm down and tune in and really remove yourself and become the observer to see what it was you truly observed. So there are two different things that I want to discuss today. The first one I want to discuss is all the hype about high value men and high value women. Okay? A high value man and a high value woman will both be very powerful people. They will both be forces to be reckoned with. They will both have strong will. They will both know how to get things done here on the physical plane and in the spiritual as well. So if you really want to attract a high value man, or you really want to attract a high value woman, you would have to know how to merge energies between the two of you. If you do not know how to merge energies between the two of you in order to transmute that energy into the universe to give you both the things that you are looking for, or the life that you are looking for, then you will have a hard time interacting with this person of high value. So high value doesn't necessarily look like what they are telling you that high value looks like. For example, a high value woman is not a submissive woman who, and when I say submissive, I'm using it how most people think it means, which is that you bow down and do whatever, someone else is telling you to do. That's not what a high value woman looks like, okay? They're not meek and quiet and just, take on whatever you as a high value man wants to say and do with your life. That's not how it works. If you fall into the trap of feeling like this is how it works, then what you would end up doing is finding a high value woman who understands that submissive means being respectful, right? Submissive means honoring the will of another while still honoring your own will, but knowing how and when to allow that other entity to express their own will, right? So if you end up attracting a high value woman and you are a high value man, and you get it messed up in your head what it means to have a high value woman, then you will mistake her will. You will mistake her power, which essentially is her high value, as something that you need to tame, right? Or as something that is going against your own power, your own will. And this is something that is blocking many high value men and women from being able to merge their energies. When you see the power of another person's will, all that's doing is showing you the boundaries and showing you when you notice their will, when you notice their power. It's not to cause you to be threatened in any kind of way. So men who feel threatened by a high value woman are the men who tend to want to beat a woman down. As a man who tends to not want to hear anything that the woman has to say and feels like they are kings and anything that they say goes, and his life should run according to their rules and their regulation, even though having a partner should mean something, right? Having a partner means that you're sharing this. A high value man who doesn't really understand what high value means. Again, high value is your spiritual power, right? That's high value. Whether you're a man, a woman, or what. High value is your spiritual power. So a man or a woman who doesn't understand that will end up attracting a high value man or high value woman and having a power struggle. So learn how to understand that if you are a high value person, that you will attract other high value beings around you. If you are a high value being, you will attract other high value beings around you. Not just the man or the woman that you want to do life with, right? Or you want to marry or have a family with. But just the people in your circle as well are going to be high value too. You have to learn how to remain powerful within your own and understand that the energies around you should be merged with you in some way, shape, or form to make you more powerful and expand your consciousness. Okay, if we fail to see that because we're so caught up in these terms of high value and low value, meaning like, do you have kids or not? How much money are you making? How do you look? How are you carrying yourself? Can you cook? Can you clean? Are you a leader? You know, when you get caught up on all these surface level type things, like what they're trying to do, they for some reason it's always that what the hype is people taking spiritual shit and turning it into this regular, mundane, surface level shit. And it takes off. It takes off because it's on a spiritual nature. But it's going nowhere. It's actually leading people to their detriment. And it's interesting when people who are into spirituality get caught up into these terms and labels that they put out here, like high value this, low value this, or whatever. Because then people who are spiritually inclined are now arguing their stance, right? They're getting caught up in these labels and terms and trying to say what it is and what it's not, and feeling the need to defend what they know it to be, not realizing that just participating in trying to say what it is and what it isn't, as far as, you know, it's this much money. Like when it comes to the physical stuff, that it's doing the same thing, which is further confusing the masses on what high value really means, right? Because all it essentially is someone who is spiritually powerful. That's high value, period. Spiritually powerful. And what also happens is when people are trying to tell others what high value is, as far as, these surface level things, then people who truly aren't high value, meaning they truly haven't done any inner spiritual work to be high value of pure spiritual power, start to learn lingo and terms and start to sound as if they are people who are practicing their spirituality in depth, right? So then they're able to trick people who actually know what high value is, or who actually know the spiritual take on a lot of these hot topics that are out here. And you see people who are these men or women, and they come off as like, if you're a spiritual person, somebody who can understand you, someone who knows what you're into, someone who may take care of themselves, meditate, work on themselves. And it's like a trick, because as long as the rhetoric is out there, as long as our consciousness is being put on these platforms, Clubhouse, YouTube, social media, people who are not you, people who do not practice their inner spiritual work, can learn how to be like you, at least at first glance, right? If you get to know them on a deeper level, you will see that they are not who they say they are not who they portray to be. But if you do not get to know them at a deeper level, and you're just so glad to finally come across a person who seems to understand and think like you, then you can be easily fooled. So do your due diligence and vet these people, okay? Whether it's a high value man you're after, or a high value woman that you're after, or high value friends that you're after, or a mentor, or whatever it is that you're after, a life coach. Do your due diligence and vet these people out. Don't just look at their YouTube. Don't just look at their Instagram. Look at them in all different kind of angles. See that when they said 3 years ago, when they started their channel, that they were going to, start eating healthy. And look at them now. What are they doing? Right? See when they said a year and a half ago that they learned their lesson when they were dating, toxic people, and see who they're dating now. Right? See what they're doing in their life now, to see if this was really something that they learned, or if it was something that was just good to say for the masses, right? Good to say, because people connect to your pain points. People connect to trauma. People connect to your emotions. People know what to say. It is a whole formula out here that is known in the business world on how to attract your clients, right? And that's the word I gotta stop saying, is clients. But how to attract the people you want to work with. And they're not getting y'all to come to them because they're just so great at what they do. See, that's how they're going to get me. They're going to get me because they are great at what they do. And I know that they're great at what they do because I've been vetting them for a while, right? But they're going to get most of you because they sound great at what they know they should do, but not that actually they are putting in that work. I don't want to learn from somebody who's been there and done that. That's not my MO. I want to learn from somebody who's been there, done that, overcame, and can teach me how. That's what I want. Or someone who didn't be there and done that, and know that the route that they are taking is helping them do whatever it is that I'm trying to get to. They don't have to necessarily experience my journey, my struggles. But the point of where they're at is a point I'm aiming to go to for some reason or another. So my second point, I want y'all to watch what they are hyping up. Watch what is being hyped up. When I say they, I mean the group think, right? I mean what is popular. I mean what is being promoted by the media. What is being promoted in social media. What is being promoted on, your favorite TV shows. What's being promoted by your celebrities. Watch what's being hyped. Whatever is being hyped, run away from it. And I say that because unless you are understanding and understanding what it is that is being promoted, meaning unless you understand and understand who you are already in reference to what is being promoted,
then you should not dibble and dabble in it. For example, one of the biggest things right now that I know that is being promoted is shrooms. It is being pushed for people to do shrooms. Shrooms is being seen as something that is really natural to do. It's a psychedelic, right? And it's something that is considered spiritual in the spiritual world. Okay, so yeah, I get it. I get how psychedelics can psychedelics can help people to assist people as they tap into that inner spiritual realm. But the thing is, though, is if you don't know the ultimate destination, you don't know where you're going, why you're doing it, or what to expect, then these things can be something that is actually going to mess up people's lives, mess up their connection with spirituality in the first place, with connecting to their spirituality in the first place. For example, everybody right now, not everybody, there are many people, the American culture, put it that way, the American culture is about, the get rich quick scheme, the lose weight fast scheme. Everything is about shortcuts, not about doing that work. This game, the spiritual game, is about doing that work. There is no way around it. It is about doing that work. And if you think you can get in, or you can maintain it without doing the work, you will find out eventually that you'll be kicked out the game. When people get kicked out, it looks like things like when their life starts to go in a downward spiral. It looks like now they are doing things that are out of pocket that they never used to do before, right? It looks like things now where they are denouncing spirituality and running back to Christianity. It looks like things where they have been completely spooked and will not do anything else again in the spiritual realm. And that's because these people are getting kicked out. When you are not righteous with it, when you are not about really doing that work and expanding consciousness, people get kind of stuck in these new borders or parameters they have about themselves. They have a limited reality that can't only go so far. And if they try to go any further by these same methods, they're going to be kept out. Not saying that if they don't revamp their methods and actually start doing the work, they can't be back in. But as long as it's being detected that this ain't, you're not really doing the work, you're going to get kicked out. That's why you got to become an initiate. That's why you got to become a master teacher. So there is a difference. There's a philosopher and there's a master teacher. The philosopher is the person who can, or the people who can explain to you these spiritual concepts and really get you to understand it because they understand what it means, right? Nothing wrong with that, but they're philosophers. They can even help you to heal. They can help, assist the world in many different ways. And then you have the master teachers. The master teachers are those who not only understand and understand the lessons and the teachings, the same as the philosophers. These are the people who also apply it to their own lives. They also apply it to their own lives. So then when they're teaching you, they're not teaching you just something like read the book and this is what the book says. They're teaching you like, this is what happened when I did this. And there are other books and things like that out here that support this as well, right? They can give you their own they are a walking, living example of what it is that they're teaching. They're not that gym teacher who's telling you to, run a mile and you have 7 minutes to do so. They're that gym teacher who's getting out there doing it with you, or who has done it already that AM and is telling you like, now it's your turn. I did it in 6 minutes. Let's see how fast you can do it, right? I'm a master teacher, and I seek out master teachers. I seek out people who are about that life, not people who can just tell me about that life, right? So they're promoting things like shrooms, right? And what's happening is people who do not understand the first thing about spirituality, which is most of y'all, right? And it's not just about going to church. That is not spirituality. It is not about reading the Bible. That is not spirituality. Okay? So most people do not understand what true spirituality is. Yet they're doing things like taking shrooms or smoking weed and getting a glimpse into the quote-unquote spiritual world. Or they feel like they have become more spiritually enlightened. Or they're taking ayahuasca and feel like they're so enlightened. Or they're taking any other psychedelic and feel like, These are the answers I got from when I connected with nature. But the thing is, if you don't know what you're even tapping into, then you're not going to be able to get there without these things. You're going to end up being a person who needs to continue to experience that kind of bliss and wonder and awe that you get from tapping into your spirituality. You're going to only be able to experience that through the use of drugs, and harder drugs on top of that. Y'all, weed was the tip of the iceberg, right? Shrooms is the next level shit. Ayahuasca, that's some shit that if people get, that's a whole nother next level stuff. And then it goes on from there. There's LSD, there's acid, there's all types of stuff that people can claim will get you connected to the spiritual realm. I am warning you that this is not the route you want to go if you actually want to experience spirituality. Now, my route is not everyone's route. I'm not telling you to do what I do. I'm not telling you to do it how I did. I'm going to tell you that you're going to have your own natural way of being introduced into spirituality. For some people, it actually may be the route of doing shrooms or smoking weed for the first time or something. But the reason why I'm warning against this is this. We're so into taking shortcuts nowadays that we don't appreciate the fact that we have a journey. We all have a journey that we are on, right? If I know, I'm all for shortcuts. Because if I know that 7 times 3 equals 21, because I wrote down, 7 groups of 3, and I added them all up, and it equaled 21, then that's fine. If I learn that there is a trick I can do to learn all my 7s, or for example, for a 9, right? 9 times 3, 27. I did my work, I did all my adding up, and I found out, 9 times 3 is 27. And now they tell me that there's a trick for your 9s, and you can use your fingers, and it's really easy. And now you can see quickly, 9 times 3 is 27. I am all for that. But I am all for that because I know, even if I don't remember which finger did what, I can figure it out because I know where I'm trying to go. I know I'm getting to 27. If you do shrooms or smoke weed or something of that nature, these things that are being pushed out here, right? If you do these things saying that you're connecting to your spirituality, but you don't even know what spirituality is because you do not know that 9 times 3 is 27 because you did that work first before doing the shortcut, then what you experience, you're not going to understand completely what you experience, and you're not going to understand that you can get to these places all by yourself. You do not have to have a crystal. You do not have to smoke anything. You don't have to drink anything. You don't have to eat anything. There is nothing you will have to do to get to this state outside of you, right? You do not need any incense burning. You do not need any books or anything else like that. You can get to these states all by yourselves if you do that work. But you're not going to understand this if you start off your spiritual introduction by introducing a psychedelic of some sort. Okay? If you do that, you will, just by meditating alone, honestly, just by meditating alone or fasting or doing any kind of real spiritual work, you see the world in a whole new light. But when you try to explain it to people, they do not understand where you're coming from. Some people may think you're crazy. Some things you literally don't have any words for to explain what it is is that you see, how it is that you operate, and the messages that you get. Some things are just left to you as a discovery of yourself because there is no way to explain it to anyone else, right? And these are things that you come to grow, know, and understand are part of the experience of when you're expanding spiritually, because your world starts to adapt from looking as there's a physical and there's a spiritual to understanding that the physical and spiritual are all right here at the same time. And that's something that is not easily understood by people who are not practicing their spirituality. I mean, you can read books about it and say, oh yeah, I kind of get it, but it is nothing compared to when you're actually doing the work. So that person who was taking shrooms or smoking weed or something like that as their way to introduce themselves into spirituality will not understand that what they have just done was thrown themselves into a whole world that they can't even begin to conceptualize outside that experience. So, and when this trip is over, when the trip is done,
they're going to be walking around the world that seems limited, constrained, and like a hellish place to be compared to where they were at when they took that trip, right? With the mushrooms or the weed or whatever it was they took. And now they're going to seek out that same experience. And if they do not understand that, because meditation, it's going to get you there and stuff too, but it's not going to be necessarily as quick as it would be if you popped a shroom or a couple of shrooms. I don't know how it works. I've never done shrooms. Never say never, but I haven't. At this point in my life, I have not done shrooms. And I'm not saying anything is bad with it. But what I am saying is that it is not the most, it is not the best tool to use if you are trying to understand your connection with yourself in the universe. Okay, because that's going to place you outside of yourself simply because you had to take something outside of yourself. And yes, you know, everything outside of you is you anyway, but you won't even begin to understand that shit unless you start doing the inner work. So you may say that and get faith and believing in that, but you do not really know that unless you start doing the work, period. So I'm not saying shrooms, I'm not condemning shrooms, weed, or anything like that, any kind of psychedelics. But what I am saying is that for the beginner, the person who does not understand anything about spirituality or doesn't have that inner connection to themselves, or they can even say out their mouth that they are spiritual, or that they have a spiritual connection outside of like the church or the Bible and stuff like that. When they really understand what spirituality is, then that is not a great first avenue to take in terms of learning spirituality, because that person who takes it that route with these psychotropic medicines will seek those things out, because once that trip is over, they're going to be back into the same reality and they're not going to be happy there. My sister tells me all the time, she'll say, let's say I'm talking about something and something's like irritating me or something. She'll say, girl, go meditate. The reason why she tells me go meditate is because she knows I can go there, get to that state that I can get to, that raises my vibrations, and then the things I was just complaining about, I see in a whole nother light, a whole nother perspective, because my world has opened back up to understanding the merge between the spiritual and the physical, where these things that were making me triggering me before are no longer really an irritant, because I was able to raise my vibration. So if you can't raise your vibration naturally to merge the two worlds, you're going to seek it out. And so if you do something like shrooms or weed or something like that, and the high goes away, and now you're back in this quote unquote hellish reality, because you're in the physical, you're smacked back hard into the physical. Once it wears off of you, you're going to want to escape it. The same way my sister can tell me, girl, go meditate, and I'll go meditate. You're going to be trying to tell yourself, go get back to what you know it could be like. And so you're going to have to take some more weed, or you're going to have to eat some more shrooms, or take another kind of psychedelic drug, because you haven't done that inner spiritual work to actually get you where you need to get to naturally. And so then that psychotropic can become an oppressor. Okay, these things can either liberate you or they can oppress you. So when you see these potheads, people who ain't got nothing going for themselves, who do nothing but smoke weed all day and can't get shit done, that's why, right? Because we can kill your brain cells and things like that too, which is why it's not something that it should be used every freaking day, 10 times a day or anything like that. People begin to abuse these drugs, okay? And there's a such thing as abusing nature. That's what they do. They abuse these drugs. They're abusing nature. Many people who do shrooms do it all the time, or a lot, right? These people end up being strung out on drugs, and then we end up having a world full of more philosophers, full of more people who want to tell you how, the enlightened things that they learned, discovered, or were downloaded to them, but they aren't also still not the people who put it into play. If we have more people who put these philosophies into play, into their own lives, we would have a whole nother type of worldly experience down here. the people and the teachings we would have, the way people would be, the way life would be at a whole nother level. But we are just so okay with people just teaching stuff that they read in a book or heard from someone else or got downloaded to them, but not actually being a living, walking embodiment of that thing that which they are teaching. Okay? So do your due diligence, everybody, before you ever put a shroom in your mouth, before you ever smoke some weed or do any other psychedelic, before you ever develop a strong interest in a YouTuber and a spiritual mentor or anything like that. Do your due diligence and actually do some work yourself. Know who you are, to understand who you are outside of who they are, and also take your time to get to know these people and see who they are. Are they master teachers or are they philosophers? There are so many philosophers, and that's okay. The world needs philosophers, but the world also needs master teachers. The world also needs a bunch of master teachers to teach these philosophers and help motivate them to also become masters of themselves and teachers of themselves.